Have you ever stopped to think about what makes an idea stick? I mean, really stick. What's the difference between an idea that's a flash in the pan and one that completely rewrites how we see the world? Well, it's not just about being a genius, and it's definitely not luck. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret to creating ideas that last forever.
So, how do they do it? How does an idea literally change the world? The answer isn't some modern marketing hack or a viral formula. It's a lesson from way back in history about a truly dangerous idea that almost didn't get published at all.
Yep, it all comes down to one person, one book, and an idea so revolutionary that the author was terrified to share it. So scared, in fact, that he sat on it for more than 20 years.
All right, let's set the scene. The date is November 24th, 1859. A man named Charles Darwin finally gets up the nerve to publish his book On the Origin of Species. And in doing so, he unleashes what he himself called his dangerous idea.
Now get this, this book wasn't some weekend project. Darwin spent more than 2 decades, 20 years, sailing the world, collecting specimens, and gathering evidence. So, when it finally came out, it sold out on day 1. And today, it's still shaping our understanding of everything.
And he was absolutely right to be scared. See, in Victorian England, saying that life evolved through natural selection instead of being created by God, that wasn't just a new scientific theory. It was a cultural bombshell. It was a direct challenge to, well, everything. Society, religion, the whole shebang. He was afraid he'd be called a heretic, so he literally hid his manuscript for years.
So why did it succeed? This is the absolute key. Darwin didn't just float an opinion. He built a fortress of evidence. A 500-page masterpiece where he laid out all his data and anticipated every single counterargument. He didn't just argue his case, he proved it so thoroughly that you just couldn't ignore it.
And Darwin's success wasn't a fluke. It actually reveals this timeless blueprint for making an argument that isn't just persuasive, but is straight up undeniable. Just think about it for a second. On one hand, you've got the forgotten books, right? The ones that are all emotion, no evidence, and they just plug their ears when someone disagrees. And then you have the world-changing books. These are built brick by brick with years of evidence. They don't just ignore objections. They welcome them. They invite you to try and knock them down.
In our world of hot takes and viral clicks, it is so tempting to just chase that quick hit of attention. But what Darwin teaches us is that real, lasting impact doesn't come from being the loudest or the fastest. It comes from building a case that's so valid, so solid, that it can stand up to anything for all time.
So how do we actually do that? How do we build something that lasts? Well, Darwin's method can actually be broken down into a framework, a repeatable system that any of us can use to give our ideas that same kind of power. It's basically a 5-step process. It all starts with observation. Then you move to questioning. After that, you test your idea like crazy. Then you structure your argument. And finally, you publish it.
Let's break that down real quick. Step 1, observe. For Darwin, that meant decades of collecting specimens. For us, it means gathering an overwhelming amount of evidence. Step 2, question. Darwin asked, what's the engine of change? We need to find our one central question. Step 3, test. He compared data from all over the world. We have to stress test our ideas with the toughest opposing views we can find. Step 4, structure. He organized his book so the conclusion felt inevitable. That's our goal too. And finally, step 5, publish. He let it go despite being terrified. We have to share our work when it's solid and honest, not wait for some mythical perfect moment.
Okay, let's make this super practical. How can you, right now, start building your own undeniable argument using this same framework? Here are your action steps. First, audit your evidence. Can you back up every single claim you make? Second, try to destroy your own argument. Seriously, write the strongest case against your idea to find all the weak spots. Third, structure your argument to build that feeling of inevitability. Fourth, get rid of hedging words like maybe or I think. Be confident. Fifth, set a courage deadline. Don't let fear make you wait 20 years. And last, number 6, find your smartest critic and ask them to tear your idea apart.
And that last point is so important, because great ideas aren't born in a bubble. They get stronger when they're challenged. They're forged in the fire of resistance and criticism.
Which really brings us to the heart of it all. Changing the world isn't about just one thing. It's about a powerful combination of 2 very simple but totally essential ingredients. Look, you can have the most brilliant, world-changing idea ever, but if you don't have the proof to back it up,
It's just philosophy. It's a nice thought experiment that doesn't actually change anything.
And on the flip side, you could have mountains of proof, a completely undeniable case. But if you don't have the courage to put it out there and face the music, well, then it's just a journal entry, a secret that nobody ever knows.
So here's the ultimate takeaway. Darwin wasn't actually the first person to think about evolution, not even close, but he was the first person to prove it so completely that it became almost impossible to deny. The real power isn't in having a totally original idea. It's in making your idea undeniable.
And that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. Our world is absolutely flooded with flimsy opinions and hot takes, but it's only ever been changed by a handful of undeniable arguments. So you have to ask yourself, which kind are you building?